Okay. Okay. All right, there it is. Greetings. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I was trying to figure out how to get the Hangout to actually come on. So we're now live. Yeah, so greetings. Hi. My name is Omi. I am the spiritual practitioner and founder at Raha Reiki. For anyone who is watching this or will be watching this and is not familiar with me, I am a what do I do? I'm a Yuzui Reiki master. I am a trained massage therapist. I don't do that as much anymore, but it is something that I did do for a while. I also write a lot. I've been blogging online, I want to say since the early 2000s, some of which still exists online and some of which is lost to the ethers. And I am an initiate in a Kemetic temple, Sharim Shanu Temple, which is out of New Jersey in the United States. And I'm also a recent initiate of Oshun. So I am a Iawo for those of you who know what that means. And so I now am focused on my training in that area. So that's what I do. That's who I am. I also consider myself at this point a spiritual counselor. I do readings for people. I use cards. So I use tarot, traditional tarot, and other decks to sort of streamline the messages that spirit has for people. So that's a little bit about what I do. Also trying to enable the chat here so that people can chat. I'm not quite sure how you can participate. If you're watching this on YouTube, I think that you can leave comments and I will answer them or try to answer them. The issue with that is the audio because I'm sort of watching myself on one screen. And if I turn on YouTube, it's another. So I'm trying to watch that. But there's also a Facebook event. I will put the link to that in the chat. So if you want to ask questions via Facebook, you can. I'm also on Twitter at Raha Reiki. And you can add me and ask questions as we're going along, if you know. So right now there doesn't look like there's anyone here live, which is okay. This will go straight to YouTube. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/ I think you have to do like /user/ Raha Reiki. So if you don't catch this live, you can always go to the channel and see what's there. And I will put that here too. So, I do not have a presentation for you. I wanted this to either be a dialogue or for me to just introduce some key points that I have found when it comes to talking to people about becoming more spiritually aware, what kinds of issues they're having, embracing whatever gifts they have, and things like that. So I have a few notes, but I'm kind of just going to go with what comes. So the conversation that I've had many times is this sort of sense of how do I connect with spirit? How do I know that what I'm hearing, seeing, dreaming is real? How do I know how do I know to trust myself? Should I be looking for a teacher? Should I be, doing this? Should I be doing that? What's the right way to do X, Y, Z, and so on and so forth? So the very first thing I will tell you is that trial and error is par for the course. Period. End of story. This is not, when you start getting into spiritual whatever, and you get on a serious spiritual path, there's going to be nothing linear about it. I know when I started in the Yoruba tradition, I really thought, oh, I found this house. I love these people. My ear is awesome. I'm just going to stay here and do what I do and go straight through. Didn't happen that way at all. And I remember I ran across someone in my extended spiritual family once, and interestingly enough, she told me when she didn't know that I had left the house that I was with, and she said to me, she kind of went, She was like, "Yeah, hardly anybody stays with the first house they get with," and that was like a shock to me. I'm thinking, "Oh my God, I had it all figured out," and in a way, you do, because the people who are there with you are there for a reason. They may not be the people who get you all the way to your destination, but you know, they'll get you maybe halfway, a third of the way, and then you meet the other people who get you the rest of the way. So trial and error. It zigzags. It goes like this. It's not a straight line for most people. Some people it is. It does happen very rarely. Some people get in, stay with the same people their whole life. That can happen. I would be willing to bet that most of those people even went through some things before they got to that quote unquote one person. I'll say that. So yeah, it's not a linear path. Another thing, there are no quick fixes. Quite literally, there are no quick fixes. There's nothing that is going to get you there in a day. There's nothing that's going to get you there in a week. There's nothing that's going to get you there in a month. Anything that promises to do that is more than likely not truthful or something that is going to really work for you. Now, not all of it is in books. That's another thing. If you've dealt with anyone, any elders at this point in your journey, they've probably told you that don't go into anybody's space or house or what have you and think, oh, I know all this stuff because I read it on Google or I saw it on YouTube. No, because there's so much, especially in the African-centered traditions, of the women's mysteries, things of that nature that have kind of maybe halfway been put out there, but not really. So you may have gotten a glimpse of it, but not all of it. So listen to the folks who are trying to help you. So number one, we've got, it's not a linear road. If you've hit a bump in your road, if you've hit a speed bump on your road, if you hit a brick wall in your road, welcome to the real. It's normal, it's natural, it happens. And again, it's not going to be quick, fast, in a hurry. In fact, I'm looking for something that I wanted to read to you as sort of an opening. Of course, I kind of went right into it, so it didn't really work that way. Where is it? And so this is from a man named Seth Godin. He's been around a while, apparently. I think he does some teaching around marketing, like business marketing and things of that nature. But he wrote this blog. My supervisor actually shares a lot of his stuff with us. And so this is called The Myth of Quick. So I'm not going to start at the beginning, but I'll start sort of in the middle, and I'll post a link as well in the chat box. But so he says, sometimes, once in a very rare while, there actually is a stone in our shoe, easy to remove. And this rare occurrence serves to encourage our dreams that all of our simpler true. Culture takes years to create and years to change. Illnesses rarely respond in days to a treatment. Organizations that are drowning need to learn to swim. Habits beat interventions every time. Consider these boundaries. Avoid the crash diet. Fear the stock that's a sure thing to double overnight. Be skeptical of a new technology that's surely revolutionary. Walk away from a consultant who can transform your organization in one fell swoop. Your project and your health is too valuable to depend on lottery tickets. There are innovations and moments that lead to change, but that change happens over time, with new rules causing new outputs that compound. The instant win is largely a myth. The essential elements of a miracle are that it is rare and unpredictable, not quite the reliable path you were seeking. So that really gets to the heart of the core of this conversation that I've been having with people for the last several years. You know, it doesn't happen quickly. It doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen all at once. So now we got that out of the way. And hopefully some of you are taking a sigh of relief at this point and saying, whoo, okay, I'm not off, I'm not crazy. No, you're where you need to be. I want to get into some of the actual ways you can sort of become more aware of what's going on with you spiritually. So one thing is to pay attention. That sounds really simple on its face. But a lot of us in this, I mean, I'm on the East Coast of the United States, grew up on the East Coast, grew up in Baltimore City. You know, a lot of us, most of you watching are probably in the United States, have been raised in the United States. If not, welcome. But a lot of us in this culture are not metaphysically trained, let's just put it that way. We're not taught to necessarily check in with our energy. Some of us being products of Black American culture, and more specifically Black Southern American culture, sometimes dreams we do learn to pay attention to our dreams, but sometimes we forget, sometimes we stop, things like that. So it's good to pay attention to what's going on with you. It's good to pay attention to your dreams. If you don't dream a whole lot, then you pay attention to your body. What's your body telling you? You know, what signals do you get when you know something's not right? Some people, their stomach turns. Some people, you know, your left toe might twitch. You know, other people, it could be, you know, the back of your neck gets hot. I mean, there's so many different ways that our spirit gives us signals and things like that through our bodies. So pay attention to that. If you know that it happens for you like that, like your big toe starts twitching, right? Then don't ignore that. Don't think it's crazy. Don't wish for another way for it to happen. Your big toe's telling you, and that's fine. That's your way of signaling that something's up. So pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to synchronicities in your life, whether that's numbers, whether that's colors that show up for you. Sometimes it's patterns in life, like whenever you see an old man, this happens. Whenever you talk to another woman at a party, you learn this thing, or somebody keeps bringing this thing up to you. Pay attention to those synchronicities, those things that keep coming up in your life. Those things are indications that spirit is trying to get your attention and tell you something. The other big thing that I'm always talking about is healing. I actually have a recorded webinar about that. It's called Deep Waters, Charting the Path to True Healing. And it talks a little bit about the healing process. Again, reiterating that it's not necessarily linear, it's not necessarily a quick fix. It's something that takes time and work and focus to get through. But one big thing, even to some degree, as you're paying attention, you want to make sure that you're healing. You want to make sure that you're acting from a space of understanding and not out of your trauma. That is a huge, huge thing. And it's normal and natural to act out of trauma. Everyone has it to some degree, some people more than others. And it's a good idea to get help with whatever has hurt you or impacted you in that way, so that you can move forward from it. And so you know that you're not acting from a place of fear, that you're not acting from a place where you think that God is going to, you know, strike you down if you do one wrong thing, or, you know, is going to come up and yell at you or something if you do something wrong. To my understanding, that's not how God works. That's not how Orisha works. That's not how um, most spiritual energies and entities work, but that is a lesson that sometimes we get depending on what spiritual tradition you were raised in, is that there's always this constant threat of punishment. There's this threat of fear. For women, often there's the stigma of always being sinful or wrong or dirty or somehow unclean, spiritually or otherwise, because of the processes of our bodies, and things of that nature. So releasing all of that is a good idea before you start getting into a more metaphysical space and a more metaphysical perspective, because that's extremely important. You don't want to have a whole lot of fear. And also, one of the things that I said on the Facebook group was that on the blog, or Raha Reiki on Tumblr, there's several mini workshop blogs, and one of them speaks to that, about you need to kind of clear out the fear before you really start dealing with spirit. And those mini workshops also have a lot of great information as well. So I'll make sure that I think the link is already on the YouTube video, but if not, I'll put it there, because those are full of information. So I wanted to point folks' attention to those too. And if you have any questions about what you read, or it sparks something for you, or what have you, you can always hit me up on Facebook or Twitter, or, you know, whatever. So healing is excellent. You want to make sure you're acting out of a place of understanding and not trauma, and paying attention is huge. So those are two big things. The next thing that is something that comes up a lot is, you know, understanding that everyone is not the same. My destiny is not your destiny. There are things that I can do for the good of my destiny that will not work for you at all, and it works the same way, you know, with me. There are things that I just can't do, that you can probably do, and that will help you thrive. Understand that, you know, seeing someone do a certain level of work or a certain kind of work, and finding that like really cool, or like what I call the sexy spiritual gifts, you know, the stuff that's very that might be more obvious or more out there, is no better or no worse than having the more, I guess you could say, quote unquote, quiet spiritual gifts, that may not be as flashy, or may not come with as much attention, but they're still necessary and needed. If they weren't needed, you wouldn't have them. So again, like, I talk a lot about empathy, because that's one of the ways that my gifts show up very strongly. So I mean, you know, if you're an empath, you're supposed to be sensitive, but you're not supposed to be hiding under a rock. I talk about that a lot. You know, is a big thing. If you're hiding under a rock, then you need to figure out how you cannot hide under a rock. Figure out what you need to come up out of there. Being sensitive is not a problem. It's a problem when you feel like you can't function effectively and you can't do your work in the world, because of those sensitivities. You don't want to numb yourself, because that's not going to help. What you want to do is learn how to work with them. So I mean, you know, there's lots of stuff. I mean, I wrote an ebook, I have that, but you know, there are other things. There's a book I need to get for you. I meant to have it next to me, but I don't. It's called The Spiritual Power of Empathy, I believe. Really great book for empaths. It breaks down empathy in several different categories, several different ways, that are really useful and helpful beyond what we usually think of as empathy. So that's just one example. But learn about your gift. Learn about what you can do. Don't necessarily wish for it to look like something else, or compare yourself to someone else. Your gifts are aligned with your unique consciousness that you came here with, that's going to help you do what you need to do. Which kind of segues into the next point. which I just blanked on, which is an awareness around um, mm, let me breathe for a minute because that completely went just out of my head. But I am going to in the room. What was I going to say? This is why I should have notes. That's not that, not that. I didn't want to get into the empathy thing. Okay, I'm going to check and make sure no one's saying anything on Facebook or anything because, for some strange reason, that point went completely out of my brain. Which usually does not happen. Okay, nothing there. And nothing there. Okay. All right. So, and it still doesn't look like anyone's here live. So what this will turn into, because there's not more of a sort of a dialogue thing going on, which I kind of prefer to do with these kinds of things. It works a lot better if people are kind of asking questions. But I am going to write something up related to this. That's going to be like a PDF or something that you can refer back to something to read basically, or something that you can kind of go back to and take notes on and that kind of thing, as things happen or as things come to you. Let's say. So I don't know why that just. So hold on one second. I'm going to get the book so I can show it to you. Okay, so this is the book I was referring to. It's called The Spiritual Power of Empathy by Cindy Dale. It's it's the only book that I've read really about empathy, but it's a really, really good resource. So if you are, if empathy is one of your big things and you're looking for a way to access that in a more holistic and healthier way, this book is excellent for that. Her biggest point that she makes that I love, that you don't have to do something with all the information that you get. Just because it's coming in doesn't mean, And I remembered my point. Thank you. Okay. I was like, what was I gonna say? So after you've, you're in a space where you kind of know what's going on with you. You kind of understand how your gifts flow. You kind of understand what's going on. Another great thing is to find your tools. So again, everybody doesn't have the same tools. Everything that's popular or hype or whatever is not necessarily going to work for you. So, one big thing with the sisters right now is the Yoni egg movement. Nothing wrong with them, but if it doesn't resonate with you, it's okay. You don't have to do it. Some people are good with herbs. Some people are good with crystals. Some people are excellent with food, cooking. Other people may be great with plants, like, growing plants or cultivating plants or things like that. Some people may use tarot or great at tarot. If you don't use it, if it doesn't work for you, you don't resonate with tarot, try something else. Use a pendulum, learn how to read the I Ching, whatever it is. There are so many spiritual tools out here. You do not have to settle for what's popular or whatever. And even if it's something relatively obscure, there's either some information out there for you, or because it is meant for you, someone will show up to kind of guide you through it and show you how to use it. So just understand again that your tools are going to be for you. So they may not look like everybody else's. You may be reading tea leaves and nobody around you even knows how to do it. Resonates, and that's okay. So find out what resonates with you. Find out what speaks to you. And again, that's sort of a trial and error process. It's not something you're going to come up with overnight, or it's not something that you're necessarily going to figure out overnight. That can take time, and that can take a little bit of effort. You're going to have to try some things. You're going to have to try some things. You're going to fall on your face sometimes. All of that is normal. All of that is natural. We make mistakes along the way. It happens. It's kind of like learning how to read. When you're a kid, you don't come out the box reading every word perfectly. You have to kind of sound things out and stumble through them and figure it out. That's just how it works. So you may get two pendulums, figure out that does not work for you at all, and then you just get the crystals by themselves and find that the crystals are really talking to you. Sell the pendulums. It happens that way sometimes. All at once, and everything isn't going to come in the same way. Now things can shift too. So you may have spent most of your life as a dreamer. You have really powerful dreams that guide your way or what have you. And then one day the dreams stop and something else starts. That doesn't necessarily mean the dreaming has gone completely away. It just means that maybe you need to use something else for a while, or spirit is like, okay, she's got the dream thing down. Let's give her a little bit more on the scale of empathy or something, or let's give her more on the scale of clairaudience. When you hear, I'm a hearer. So things like that. Gifts can shift, they can change, they can mingle. So a gift that was strong for you in childhood may morph into something else as you get older, or something that you had in childhood may return to you as you get older. So these things morph, they shift. Again, that's normal, that's natural. It happens. Let's see, but that was my point that I couldn't remember right then, was use your tools. Find your tools and use them. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, this was important for me to say as well. Whatever drains, depletes, depresses, or demeans you is not good work for your spirit. I'm going to say that again. Whatever drains, depletes, depresses, or demeans you is not good work for your spirit. It's not. We all got to do what we got to do to get by sometimes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that when you're in a situation that you know is not healthy for you, that you know is not good for you, this could be relationships. And when I say relationships, I don't necessarily just mean intimate. This could be friendships, what have you, that are pretty literally sucking the energetic life out of you. Those things aren't good for you. And it's not going to, being aware of that is not going to necessarily help. Sometimes you just have to get out. Sometimes you just have to stop. So don't feel like, I don't believe, put another way, I don't believe that suffering for the sake of suffering is a wonderful and great thing. Actually, I feel like, if you're struggling and you're suffering for the sake of suffering, or just to say, oh, I can make it through this, or oh, I'm strong enough to do this, or oh, I'm strong enough to handle this, That's not a good enough reason. Yes, you're strong enough to handle it. Yes, you'll live, but how much time are you going to spend recovering from what you're in? Um, how much time and energy and space are you going to spend recovering from what you're in? Um, just to say that you made it through something. So again, if it depresses, depletes, or demeans you or drains you, it's not good work for your spirit. Let it go. Again, I'm not saying just, walk off your job because, you got to pay rent or whatever have you. Take the normal measures to put things in place for yourself. But just don't struggle for the sake of struggling. If you know something is harmful to your spirit, that's going to deplete you in ways that are going to take more time to recover from than is necessary. So don't do that to yourself. So that's most of what I wanted to say as far as just bottom line, baseline stuff. Trial and error is par for the course. Don't feel like it's going to come overnight. It's not a quick thing. It's not an easy fix. You want to find your tools. You want to trust yourself, trust your inner voice. Again, your signals are your signals. Don't wish for different signals. Pay attention to the signals that you have. Pay attention to what God is telling you. Pay attention to what you know. Someone says they've asked me a question. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find it. This thing is odd. I'm still learning how to use it. Okay. The only thing I can see there in the chat is me. So let me, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, hi. Okay. So someone is trying to ask a question. Sorry about that. Whoever's trying to ask the question. I am working with several different layers of technology here, and this one doesn't seem to be working. Oh, okay. Anyway, sorry about that. So when I see the question, I will definitely answer that for you. What's that? And while I'm waiting for that to come through, I will look on here. Okay, we're good over here. But yeah, Google people, this chat thing is strange. Fix that for us, will you? Okay, so I'm good on that. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can get to. Excuse the delay. This is one thing about the Hangouts thing that's, weird. Or can be strange. You're just kind of sitting. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so this person is saying that they've been a massage therapist for the past decade. Taking too much on from clients. Want to find a new thing. Okay. Okay. So the essence of the question is that this person's been working as a massage therapist for quite some time and feels like, first of all, they're taking too much on from the clients. Secondly, that Okay. Secondly, that they feel like they're stuck into it because they've sort of committed to it, and they can't seem to get away from it. And okay, so that's actually a great question. Thank you. It also brought back another point that I want to make. I will never do this without taking notes for myself again. Anyway, so number one, ritual. When you feel like you are doing too much in a context like that, where you're doing some kind of work for other people, massage, body work, uh, readings, spiritual work, whatever, you need rituals. So what you need to be doing is figuring out do either daily or weekly to cleanse yourself first off from what's going on from what you're taking on with the clients, because you probably are. That feeling is not usually a probably, it usually is an is. And figure out what you can do about that. There's several ways to handle that. First of all, specifically with massage, and this was something that someone that taught me told me when I was doing it, because I was getting, we learned a technique called myofascial release. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's kind of in the weeds for me to explain it, but it's something where you sort of touch a person and you have to kind of settle into their skin and sort of push around this sort of really subtle musculature that's like right under your skin. And so I was literally getting flashes of things when I had to do that on my classmates. And I told the teacher, I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I can't, this is not cool. What he told me was, imagine that you have on bracelets and nothing gets beyond here. So imagine that you have on something, a gauntlet, not a gauntlet, those things that like Wonder Woman wears, that there's something on your arm that, just stops here. And no matter what, nothing, no energy, no nothing gets past that point, and anything that starts to creep up, you just send it back out through your hands. Like, it takes a minute to get used to visualizing it that way, but it does help. He also told me silk somewhere on your body, whether if it's a scarf, something that won't interfere with the actual work that you're doing with your hands and your arms, but silk is a very good spiritual blocker fabric. But rituals. So you need to be doing something to cleanse yourself. There's several different ways you can do that. You can use sage. You can use other incense that's good for that, frankincense, myrrh, and I'm talking about the resins. Like, get the resins that you burn on charcoal, not like the incense, unless it's like the good incense that's actually made with those resins, but you want the real thing. So like frankincense and myrrh resin, you can smoke yourself with that when you come home. Make it a habit to take a shower whenever you come home after that. You can also use salt. So if you want to make a salt solution for yourself with sea salt or kosher salt are best for that. And just sort of, after you physically wash with like, soap or body wash or what have you, you can kind of like, smooth that salt water over you and like a little bit over your head just to whoosh the rest of that energy off. What else? Just trying to think of like really simple things that you can start doing. Prayer. And I use prayer very loosely. You don't have to necessarily pray to something or someone, but just a little mantra, some kind of affirmation that when you hit your door, when you walk through when you hit your door, or when you sit down, or before you get in that shower, whatever it is that basically says, I am cleansing myself I release all that I have taken on today to God, and I pray for the highest and greatest good of my clients. And I release myself from this, this energy, something along those lines. But you need to do some kind of ritual, some kind of physical thing that helps to get rid of that energy. And this is really big, and it's really a shame, honestly, that more teachers in that context don't teach about that. They teach about what do you call it? Ah, I can't remember the name of it now. I'm blanking on that. But transference, I guess, in psychology 101. But they don't teach body workers and people like that about this. But it's really it's deep. Because you can take that stuff on if you don't know how to shake it off. So rituals, figure out something physical that works for you, to take that off, and some kind of mantra, some kind of prayer to lift it off, because it's not, you don't have to hold that. Now, the part about you not being able to get away from it, that's crucial too, because it probably is that is your work and that's what you need to be doing. But there's more intrinsic sort of self work that you have to do in order to make it beneficial for you and not drain from you. I know also in the question it said the money was an issue, so that kind of says to me that there's an issue with exchange, that there's not an equal exchange going, because that's really what money is, the energy of currency, which is flow, the energy of movement from one thing to another. So I'll also write to you on that as well. But that's a great question, just generally for anyone who's doing that kind of work and feels like it's not doing what it needs to do. And my other point that segues into is ritual. So as I was saying, a lot of times people who are spiritually sensitive, we need some kind of ritual, some kind of something that helps us to get through the day, that helps us to not take on all the stuff that comes at us, and again, this can be spiritually based. You can do this from any spiritual tradition that you have. If it's Christianity, you have Bible verses, Quran has verses. You can use sacred text mantras, if words work for you, whatever it is. There's just so many options for that. But ritual has to become a part of your life, and that's just the way it is. It just helps to have rituals that help you to get through the day and not take these things on. Again, the ebook, the Empath Toolkit, has two specific rituals in it. But ritual, again, I use that term very loosely, very broadly. It really is just about what things that you can do to help keep your energy up. So that's a big thing. The other thing that I wanted to share was that you should learn your elements. What do I mean by that? So if you have never looked into your astrological profile, and not even getting like a whole big professional chart done, although I really think it's a good idea to sit with someone and get a natal chart done. I plan on doing that myself soon. Just learning the basics. So learning what your sun sign is, your rising sign, or your ascendant, the sign that the sun was in as it was coming up over the horizon, or whatever, when it was in the horizon when you were born, and your moon sign. Knowing those three signs is really crucial to helping you to understand yourself a little bit better. And the other thing about that is to understand what elements you're working with. So for me, using myself as an example, I'm a Pisces. I have a Libra rising and a Leo moon. So Pisces is a water sign, Libra is an air sign, and Leo is a fire sign. So it helps me to look at how do those three elements show up in my life? How do they show up in my personality? How do they show up in physical form in front of me? And how do I react to each of those elements? I'm very tied to water, always have been. So water is a source of energy for me. Going to a river, going to the ocean, those things really help me to reconnect, refocus. I can leave whatever I need to leave at a body of water and be good with that. For other people, if air is your element, air has to do a lot with thought, feelings to some degree. Water is more emotional, but feelings in the sense of sort of broadcasting feelings. communication, anything that's a part of our lives but not quite tangible. That's air. Certain spiritual things have to do with air. So that's an example of what air can do. Fire transmutes, it transforms, it also destroys. Fire can be used in controlled ways to do wonderful things like cook and used in like let's say like a forge to help melt iron so you can make it into other things and use it metals and things like that. But it can also be very destructive. It can burn out of control. You can have anger issues if you're too fiery, things of that nature. So that's just a quick example. Again, one of the mini workshops actually talks about, I think it's the one on finding your magic. And that one gets into how you can some questions that you can ask yourself, like, okay, what elements do I react to? Which ones do I feel more afraid of, or which ones do I not vibe with so well? Like for me, earth is not a big thing with me. I'm not I'm not a big earth person. I used to climb trees when I was young, and that was about it. I don't do, digging in the dirt. That's not really my not really my forte. But you might. Some people love to camp. They love to hike. They love all of that stuff. Those are earth people. So find your elements, find what works for you, and use those things. Don't, like, it's cute to walk around saying, "Oh, I'm an earth, I'm an air sign, I'm a water sign," but really delve into what that means, and don't just go into it from a woo-woo perspective or a metaphysical perspective. Also look at it from a strictly scientific perspective, because once you get into holistic mode, you see things that you didn't see before. So look at water from not only from the perspective, oh yes, so water is memory in the womb and this, that, and the other, and that's lovely, but what can water do? The way that water moves through caves and carves pathways and puts holes through rocks and things like that. So look at how the elements interact with each other and how the elements interact with other things in their environment, and that can also give you good insights into you need in your life, or what you need in your life, period, to keep you going and to keep you focused. So those are my main points. So I'm going to stop for any questions or anything, and thank you for being patient with me about that other question and trying to get my attention. I'm so sorry. That was difficult. I just want to make sure no one's been asking anything from anywhere else. I think we're good. So in that case, I'm going to stop here. Again, as I said, within the next little while, I'm not going to give it a specific timeline because, life. But I do definitely want to write something up and sort of summarize all this stuff in like a chunk with links and things like that. I will put links in it. Just so, again, it's just a resource. It's there. It's something that you can, point to, just to give you a little bit of a reminder of when you're feeling stuck and things like that. So yeah, so that's what I have right now. The write-up will be a little bit more detailed. And again, I apologize for that little that little gap right there where I forgot what I was going to say. But the main thing that I wanted to get across was that you're not too sensitive. This is not about, stuff that you should just be tolerating to just get through your day, or things that just come up in emergencies or things like that. This kind of awareness and this sort of way of living life is something that can really, really switch things around for you. And once you're aware, once you have the information, then you're empowered to go forward and do things in a different way, in a way that benefits you, in a way that is full for you. So that's what I've got right now. Again, feel free once this goes up. Once I stop this, it will be on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube and you have additional questions, go at the comment section will be open. I'll check back with that. I get alerts when things like that come up. So yes, definitely let me know if you have questions or if you want me to elaborate on something. Again, if you need links to the mini workshops, I can give you that. If you're interested in the Empaths Toolkit, that is on sale for only $15 until January 20th. So if you want to either buy it for yourself, give it as a gift, you can do that. Email readings are also on sale for only $15 until January 20th. The email readings are just like the readings I give, one-on-one, except you don't have to schedule them. So you can send me the question and I'll answer, give you a write-up, pictures of the spread of the cards that I used, just like I would if we were doing a one-on-one meeting. But the good part of it is, or the easier part of it is, you don't have to schedule it. So you send it and I respond within, I think it says something like 7 to 10 business days. Usually it's much faster than that. A lot of times I can get back to you in a day or two. But so those are $15 until January 20th. And again, if you just let me know what your question is, I can just get back to you on that. And then if you have questions, of course, we can set up a time to talk. But it's an easy way to get an answer to a question or get a 3 to 6 month overview. So if you want that, I can also do that. I can do that as well. Just, say I just want the 6 month overview or 3 to 6 month overview. And what that does is I basically get a snapshot of what things look like for you within that time frame. So that's usually a good barometer for folks. As to what to look out for, challenges that may be coming up, and also things that they're doing really well and they should keep doing. So that's my little for the moment. But either way, I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful winter solstice season, however you celebrate that. I understand after a conversation last night that all 3 major winter holidays are kind of converging into one this year, which is always interesting. So however you celebrate the solstice, I pray that the seeds you plant come to full fruition in the spring. And yeah, and hopefully this information has blessed you in some way. Just, yeah. So again, I will put a link to the write-up in the description to the video or in the comment section for the video once it's up on YouTube. So feel free to check us out, subscribe if you like. I don't do videos often, but I do them sometimes. So thank you for your patience. And thank you for listening. And I will let y'all know when I get that to you. So take care, be well. Peace.